All right, I want to talk a little bit about a Shtf economy and how that works. A lot of people talk about bartering in that type of economy, but let's say the world doesn't come to an end and there is some intentional strategy or a perfect storm of different groups doing different things, pulling the plug on aspects of the economy that we depend on. I've been through a number of personal disasters in life and learn how to mitigate the effects of those disasters ahead of time as best I can. But in a lot of cases, I don't have all the resources I need to mitigate all of those. For the same reason, I'm not going to go every place with a tow truck and a self-recovery vehicle. I'll get a AAA membership. For the same reason, I don't keep enough money in the bank to buy another car. If somebody pulls out in front of me, I carry insurance. And so these types of things are what we do to mitigate risks and pitfalls and things that happen in life. So a couple of things that people usually ask about is, the EMP, possibility of EMP. I have one vehicle hardened against EMP. I have others where I'll keep a spare brain box in a container. Is that a guaranteed defense? No, it's not. But it means that I've done something. I've done something to defend against this. When we talk about economic stuff, we also look at the fact that two things would happen in a shit-hit-the-fan situation. One of which is you may no longer be getting a paycheck. And most Americans are 2 paychecks away from personal economic disaster. In another instance, you also have to consider the fact that just like people whose personal economic disasters happen, we don't have debtors' prisons. You don't go to jail for not paying your electric bill or your house mortgage or something like that. Even if they come and take your house, it takes a little while. If a landlord runs into a situation, it depends on local law and custom and all that, but those things tend to work themselves out, not really instantly. Although, if you don't pay rent and you've got 3-day notice type stuff happening, you've got to understand that, maybe you played it too close to the edge as far as your lifestyle expenditures versus your income. And in that sense, I would say that if it's really that close, don't pay the rent. If you know that's coming, you should be prepped. Take your last 2 months of getting good camping gear, maybe a vehicle, a camp-worthy vehicle like an old van or something like that, and get yourself ready for that. Look at all of your daily expenditures that you normally use a card for, ATM card, debit card, something like that. I run a lot of my personal expenditures through a card because I want to get the cashback bonus at the end of the month instead of paying extra on that. There are times when I use cash, but I kind of like getting that little cashback bonus at the end of the month too. On that sense, you want to have enough cash to get by for 3 days. Look at how much you normally spend on your ATM card, your debit card, all of that stuff. You want to have enough cash on hand, at least in your home or your vehicle or someplace where you normally go, to get by for 3 days. You want to have enough in your wallet to get by for 1 or 2 days. Now, if you don't have the personal discipline to have that money in your wallet, and I'm talking about fill up the tank on your vehicle, get a few meals, and get a hotel room someplace in case you had to go someplace. If you don't have enough cash for that in your wallet, then consider maybe in a hiding spot, in your bug-out bag, or something that's not readily accessible. That should be in what medium to small bills, 5s, 10s, and 20s. I don't know about stacking up a bunch of ones. Personally, what I've done with my vehicles, I'll get a roll of dollar coins from time to time and use those as convenience ones. But the girls at the strip club, they don't want dollar coins. They want, they want something that's a little easier to, do things with. So when we look at the likelihood of economic collapse, the cash in your wallet is just what gets you to where you need to be within a day or something like that. And it could also be something as simple as, your vehicle's stuck on the freeway, you got to hike to the next freeway over, and you flag somebody down and say, listen, I'll pay for your next tank of gas, get me to this spot. You know, that's normal. That's just keeping a little cash on you. Now, as far as a currency crisis or an internet crisis, like if EMP or something caused a real internet crisis, a lot of your electronic money transfers won't work. Your direct deposit won't work if you're in the military. You should look at having silver on hand, somewhere where you can physically get at it, not locked up with somebody else, but somewhere where you have complete access and can complete good control of the access. And you should have enough silver on hand to get by for a month on any bills that you would normally pay. Now, this is from the standpoint that if it's a real SHTF situation and you've got, let's say, a mortgage and a car payment, you probably won't be paying those. But if you have a personal situation, you might still want to pay those. You might want to save your credit reputation. So you want to have that on hand in silver, because if something is such a threat to your credit reputation, somebody may have seized or attached your bank accounts. They may have seized or attached your credit accounts. And a lot of predatory organizations these days, whether it's organized crime, hostile attorneys in a divorce or business split up of some sort, or the government, they know how to grab bank accounts. Okay, they're good at it. They know how it works. And what they're probably less likely to be able to figure out is where you hid some gold and silver. And on that sense, what I would say that for your 1 month supply of money, your 2 to 3 days should be straight up cash. Your 1 month supply should be gold, should be silver. Okay, and silver in relatively small denominations. I get these 1 ounce silvers, and then as you accumulate more of them, there's plastic tubes you can put them in. And I use this as transactions. Right now it's relatively cheap. There was some that I bought when it was $25 an ounce, and I had actually paid and traded a lot of that to a friend of mine for some of the long-term survival food that I have. And so in that sense, you know, we got to keep it flowing. It's a cash replacement. And if you get into the habit among your other survivalist friends of using that as a cash replacement and it goes up and down in value, you don't really get the sting when it goes down in value if you just kept it moving, because there was stuff that I bought at 25, I sold at 21, but I was trading and I was still having financial movement. There's a bunch that I bought recently at $16, $17 an ounce because it's down. And I would expect to have that moving again within a month or two. It's not necessarily, doesn't necessarily go in a hole in the ground and stay there. But what I like to do is try to keep an accumulation around that's about equal to what I spend in any given month. Now beyond that, for larger ticket type stuff, you would hold gold. Okay? And gold is one of those things that for larger ticket items like vehicles, maybe some high-end type tactical stuff, but you're probably looking at vehicles, real estate, and wealth transfer over long distances where, you know, a trusted member of your family, some kind of a courier, is going to take that gold to another country or another safe zone or a neutral zone and purchase or make a long-term lease or make some sort of a deal for a safe house location for your family. Okay, and that was one of the old school Jewish survival strategies for wealthier Jews during World War II was, you know, some member of the family, maybe a couple of brothers or cousins, were trusted to go to Switzerland or one of the safe zones and purchase a house or an apartment or something like that so that the rest of the family could try to make it there. That was kind of how things went, and sometimes those worked out and other times they didn't. For example, we have all heard the story, the Diary of Anne Frank. You know, how was that arrangement made? You know, somebody goes and makes the arrangement, and then the family follows after them. The thing is, you generally need gold for that. Okay, that's generally something. You're not going to carry enough silver to buy a house. I mean, it's not likely. In the western United States, I've heard of it happening, but it's rare. The other thing, of course, getting a legitimate deed, legitimate title, those things are where it's an old West scam was to sell somebody who's really eager to buy property, sell it to them, and then sign over a deed, not write a deed out, and run away with the money. And that's one of the things that with title companies and real estate type transactions we look at nowadays. And that's why I think it might be futile to keep, $2, $3, $500,000 in gold around, because if you do use that for those types of big ticket purchases, you don't know if that purchase is going to be legitimized when the smoke clears anyway. You don't know if you're dealing with the actual owners of the property who would be recognized by whatever government comes back or whatever community comes back. But for silver, for your day-to-day monthly expenditures, we think of that as an emergency cash replacement. If it happens to go up in value while you're holding it, then great. But you probably would be turning that over as an alternative currency with other survivalists in the period leading up to that, and then your accumulation would hover at around 1 month's cash reserve.